Hello, my name is Allison Carmen, and welcome to my podcast, 10 Minutes to Less Suffering. And the name of today's podcast is Why Do We Leave So Many Things Unsaid? And this came up for me about 6 weeks ago when my mom was in the hospital, which I've discussed on the last couple of podcasts. She was in the ICU, and I didn't realize at the time how sick she really was. I knew she was having trouble breathing, but sometimes she had that issue in the past, and she started to say things to me and my sister. I love you both so much. You're the most important thing in my life. And then when my sister left the room, she pulled me over and she said, Allison, make sure you take care of everyone. You're the strongest one. And I guess in that moment, I got annoyed, because my aunt had said that to me before she died about her daughter and how it was my responsibility to take care of her because she would have nobody else. I felt very burdened that I finally reached this point of independence and my kids have left the home, and all of a sudden my mom is telling me that I have this obligation to all these people. And again, I didn't realize how sick she was in the moment. I didn't realize that this was actually her death speech. And I guess I'm able to say it that way because my mom ended up being diagnosed with a very dangerous blood clot in her lungs, and they treated her. And now she's out of the hospital and she's recovering. And I guess we don't always have these opportunities in our lives, but I went to my mom and I'm like, you need to work on your death talk. And we both laughed. But in a way, I was serious. I would have liked to have had that talk before that moment. Yes, we always tell each other that we love each other, but that deep, intimate moment about what we feel about each other. And if she really felt that way about me and being nervous about my siblings and my father and our other family members, I wish that she had said it to me in a different setting so we could have had that conversation. Because for me, it was something that was very painful and very literal in a lot of ways. I take my obligations seriously, and I think I would have had a lot of guilt and maybe done a lot of things in my life taking care of family members when maybe it wasn't my obligation. And again, I had that experience with my aunt, so it was an opportunity to go back and really start having a talk about why she said what she said and how it made me feel. And I started to wonder, have I told her everything that I feel about her being my mom? Have I told her about all the moments that if it wasn't for her, I don't know how I would have found my way? Have I told her how funny I think she is and how much I admire certain things about her? So there's a lot of processing going on. But again, we don't always have these opportunities. And it actually reminded me of a medium that I went to see years ago, and his name was Roland, and I spoke about this on a podcast a long time ago. There were about 80 people in the room, and the podcast is not about whether mediums could really access people in the afterlife, but it was really about the messages that the medium gave to several people in the audience from loved ones that had crossed over. And what was so fascinating is that all these people were there because there were things that were left unsaid. Most people got messages from the medium from relatives who did not communicate fully when they were alive. And most people in the audience that were spoken to needed to hear that their loved ones were sorry, or that they were never told that they were loved by the person who passed. And the people in the audience were crying and they were sobbing, and they were so emotional to find out how the people who had passed over felt about them. And I remember there was even a moment when the medium was speaking to a man in the audience, and the medium said that this man's father was coming through. And his father said, I wasn't able to appreciate you when you were 17, and I never got to tell you how proud I was of you. And his son, who was 60 years old, said, I really needed to hear that. And I thought to myself, this man has needed to hear this for 43 years. And I thought about his pain in the idea of feeling unloved and having to go through so much when there was an opportunity for his father to say it when his father was alive. What a moving lesson for us all. Why do we leave so many things unsaid? And sometimes we might be uncomfortable to share these things because they make us feel scared and vulnerable. And we might even lose relationships and not ever find peace with people because we don't have the strength to say what needs to be said. And some of us might not communicate because we grew up in a home where people didn't express their emotions. And there are even other times we just assume other people know what we're thinking. We believe people should know our needs and our wants and our true feelings. But the truth is, often we're seeing life through our own lens, our own perspective. And sometimes we can't see past our own emotions or our own feelings or our own insecurities to know how the person next to us is actually feeling. And I think that's what happened with my mom, because when I approached her, she said, you know you're that person. You know you're the person everyone depends on. You know how strong you are. But she really wasn't seeing where I was in my life. She wasn't seeing my relationships with other family members or how I wanted to live my life. So it was clear that my mom and I needed to talk about a lot of things. And again, we're so lucky to have this opportunity, but none of us know the last moment we will have, and none of us know the last moment the people in our lives will have. And we let so much go by in love relationships, in friendships, with family members. So much is left unsaid. And that's why it's so important to tell people how you feel. And whether it's good or bad, there's so much healing available. There's so much love available. There's so many misunderstandings. There are so many things left unsaid. And when I think about that man in the audience, how hard it must have been for him to go through those 43 years without knowing. And again, whether that medium was giving real messages or not, he really needed to hear that. And I've always tried to tell people how I feel, but especially after that situation with my mom, I don't think I've gotten off the phone with anyone without saying, I love you. And if I see someone looks nice one day, or they did a really good job, or feeling so grateful, it just flies out of my mouth because I don't want to leave anything left unsaid. I want them to know. And it's not that every time we see someone, we should live in fear that it's going to be the last time that we see them. But there is something about being really present with people and knowing that this moment is the only moment that exists. And now is the time. It's always now. And it's not about creating regret about the people that passed, because there's nothing that we can do with anything that happened before this moment. But there are plenty people in all of your lives that I know you love, that I know you're grateful for. The people you work with, your children, your spouse, your partner, a friend, someone that you just see every day. Whatever it is, don't leave anything left unsaid. Let's not live with closed hearts and be afraid to express who we are. Because I would rather say it and let it not be received than hold things in my heart that I really want to express. And I hope that people also do the same for me, because I want to know how the people around me feel. And even if I did something that upset them or hurt them, I want to know. I want a chance to say I'm sorry. I want a chance to make it right. I want a chance to share something if it makes sense for both of us. And I wish you the same thing. I hope that you're able to tell people how you feel, how you love them, how grateful you are for them, how meaningful they are in your life. And I hope you get the same gift. I hope the people that love you let you know. I hope the place you work lets you know how important you are. I hope the person you see every day walking down the street smiles your way. You deserve it. You deserve to know how much you're loved. You deserve to know how wonderful you are. And you deserve to express your heart for all the wonderful people that you have in your life. Thank you for listening to this podcast today. If you'd like to get in touch with me, you could email me at allison@allisoncarmen.com. If you'd like to buy my books, The Gift of Maybe or Year Without Men, they're available at all major bookstores and online retailers. And if you'd like to buy my newly released audiobook for The Gift of Maybe, it's available on all major audio platforms. And if you like this podcast, I hope you subscribe and leave a comment.